Hey there everyone, it's Scurvy back again with another video, and today's video is going to be my highly anticipated What is the Truth video. Certainly been teasing it in many of my other videos, so instead of meandering like I'm doing right now, let's just get right into it. I have the definition of truth written down as a statement that is based in evidence of the related field and an observation which is based on what is seen. Now, with that definition said, let's move on to what is truth and what is opinion. So I also have the dictionary definition of opinion written down here, which is a belief or conclusion held with confidence, but not substantiated by positive knowledge or proof. That would be something like my personal opinion that Shadowlands is the best World of Warcraft expansion. Somebody could have a different opinion, like, oh, Battle for Azeroth is better than Shadowlands, or the complete opposite, where they absolutely hate Shadowlands, or I hate Shadowlands, it's the worst expansion of WoW's history. That's all it is. It's just a statement. It's not really backed by any actual evidence. It's completely subjective. The truth is completely objective. Truth has to be objective in order for it to be the truth. We'll actually get into some basic truths right here. Starting off with 2 + 2 = 4. That's a basic mathematical truth. And there's nothing else that it could equal to. And no, I'm not gonna get into the whole 2 + 2 = fish thing. That's more of a fun thing, if anything. It's not any actual mathematical proof or truth. Another basic truth would be that a cat is a feline, which is a biological truth. A cat is not a canine. It does not possess the features of a canine. It has the features and evolutionary path of a feline. So that's a basic biological truth. And then there's also stuff like simple religious truths. For this example, I'm going to use Christianity as it's the largest practiced religion in the United States. A basic Christian truth would be that Jesus is the Son of God. I'm not going to get into too much of a religious feel here because I'm an atheist. I'm not a Christian. But I just wanted to, make that point clear to support the definition of the truth I stated at the start. Where things start to get a little bit more muddy is the more complicated truth, you could say, where it's oftentimes marred by political bullshit or scientific inconclusion. The first one I have listed down here, it actually relates to something current that happened a couple months back. Now, I am going to get into some quote-unquote current things. If you're familiar with that phrase, it's a pretty popular internet phrase, especially on circles in the right now. And that current thing would be the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, the critical question that even created this debate in the first place is, when does life begin? Now, it's taken surprisingly a long time to really figure that question out, although it was figured out by some scientists back in, what was it, 1987, I think it was. It was a study that was made in the 80s, primarily by pro-choice people, or pro-abortion people, as I like to put it. And they actually answer the question, when does life begin? Scientifically speaking, life begins at conception, because cellular life is still life, no matter where it is. It's all around us. There's probably some little cellular life in my water bottle because of the bacteria or something. It's clean. It was cleaned. I'm getting off topic here. But the reason why life begins at conception is because cellular life is still life. That is the answer to the question. That is the truth. That is what is seen. That is also, it's also based in evidence in biology. It's a biological truth. And therefore, because life begins at conception, what grows inside of the mother cannot be anything other than a human being at the moment of conception. I didn't make this the truth. Science did, okay? Next up, I have something related with all the COVID shit that happened back in 2020. An epidemiological truth is that the masks did fucking nothing. and that basically it's a control mechanism. Now, the reason why I have this down here as a hard to swallow kind of thing is because of something called the sunk cost fallacy. It's a psychological phenomena, and even then I'm not too big into psychology, but basically it's like, you've been coaxed into doing something, or you could have just got into something on your own, but you've been doing it for so long that no matter what the actual evidence might say, even if it's to the contrary or if it's not, like, you're still going to be doing that thing because, well, yeah, I've been doing it for so long, why stop now? And that's still what I see when it comes to people wearing masks at somewhere like the gym or even like at my place of work. And it's just like, oh my goodness, these people haven't read a study for the life of them. And basically why masks do nothing is because, well, first of all, a droplet, and COVID is a droplet-based disease. Same with the flu and many other airborne viruses and diseases. It's simply because there are droplets that are small enough that could go right through it. I remember seeing a video of basically a doctor using like a vape thing to show that masks are fucking worthless and that they don't do shit. If I could find the video, I'll probably link it down. It's probably been scrubbed off of YouTube or something because of misinformation. You can do simple studies like that. Even if you're not a smoker, you could use like a spray can of water or something. It doesn't have to be vape. Next item I've listed down here is obesity is not healthy, and healthy at every size is bullshit. Now, not gonna lie, I did gain a little bit of weight, and but you know what I'm doing about it? Like I'm trying to like at least be at a healthier weight. Like I know that even being 220 pounds at 6'3", which dropped a couple pounds, but it's like that's not healthy. Like that will cause problems. Like what I mean by that is like this certainly applies to someone who is morbidly obese. Like there's a reason why it's called morbid obesity. It's because of that word morbid. Because obesity causes so many health problems. And like I'm not going to get into all of them here. You could watch any one of Alan Roberts' videos on like the problems that obesity can cause to somebody. And it's just like, oh my goodness, it's so horrible. It's not fun. It's not quirky, and it's certainly not healthy. And the truth is that you're gonna die early. Like there is no such thing as a morbidly obese 70-year-old because they died when they were fucking 60. Like that's reality for you. That's the truth. Like it's not a healthy lifestyle to be morbidly obese and to not be moving around. Like we as humans were meant to be moving around. That's kind of how our bodies are designed, is for movement and for like getting strength and shit. Another truth I have listed down, and this is something completely different from like biology or health, and that would be Andrew Tate is a fraud. Anybody with any amount of common sense can tell you that, guys in the manosphere who just offer these expensive dating courses and shit like Hustlers University, like anyone like Undead Chronic or Taylor the Fiend or Think Before You Sleep, like they'll tell you that those guys are frauds. What those people are spending their money on is literally nothing. Like they're only gaining knowledge that they've already learned, and the people who have really bought into the whole Hustlers University thing, it's literally an MLM marketing scheme. Like that's how much of a fraud the whole thing is. And not to mention, it's just like I could say whatever Andrew Tate says, like the stuff that isn't like fucking vile, like actual like red pill truths. I guarantee that I will be a much better source of information than Andrew Tate ever will be. all the guy is good at is saying outrageous shit and, I guess, gathering a big following. Like, that's something that's pretty impressive. Like, keep in mind, I don't respect the guy at all, but how he was able to really utilize the YouTube algorithm it's something interesting, and I think a lot of other online creators can start to use that kind of method, although try to use it ethically, I might add. Next up, it's something that I'm actually kind of critical of the right over, even though I would say I'm pretty right leaning, and that would be this is gonna probably upset a lot of righties and Trumpers. Trump is not this paragon of virtue. Like, the guy, like, it's proven that the guy is a thrice adulterer, and yet you have some, like, religious preachers that are just saying, oh, he's the second coming of Christ or something retarded like that. How is a thrice adulterer, and adultery is a pretty big sin in, like, Christianity. It's also not a good thing in Judaism, but how is that virtuous? Like, cheating on your wife who you made a vow to not be like a piece of shit to. not to mention like a lot of the other skeezy shit he's done, like in terms of like business. Like I could, like, although if I were to say that Trump is a bad businessman, like that's my opinion, but there is evidence that points to that. I don't really feel like linking any of it right now. I'm a little lazy, but I'm sure you could find something. Next up, kind of going back to, the upsetting the lefties here. A basic truth is that men cannot get pregnant. That is an impossibility. Like, I know it makes for a funny, like, it used to make for a funny joke, but now it's like you have these crazies in, like, these crazy professors in college that just say stuff like the person with the capacity to give birth. Like, hold on, I'm gonna count how many words that was. A person who has the capacity to give birth. That is 9 words for just one word. Women. Only women can get pregnant, not men. Like, and there's so many reasons as to why, biologically speaking, men cannot get pregnant. For the main fucking reason that we don't have uteruses. we don't have vaginas. We don't have anything that constitutes as anything of a female reproductive organ. That's just not the case. It's not possible. And then in addition, with stuff like bone structure, like a guy's cervix compared to a woman's cervix, the difference might seem small to somebody who's not into, like, forensic anthropology or osteology, but an osteological truth is that the male cervix, like, it bends a little bit, and so if somehow, by some freak of something, I don't know, I mean, it's not possible, but this is just purely a hypothetical, like, if a man were to somehow give birth, the child would die because it would be stabbed on the cervix. So it's not possible for a biological man to get pregnant. It's only possible for biological women to get pregnant. And I shouldn't even be saying that. It's men can't get pregnant. That's the truth. It's based in biology, osteology, so many fields of science that basically say, no, men cannot get pregnant. And considering that I graduated with a history degree, I'd figured that we'd talk about some historical truths as well. Like, you'll have a bunch of race grifters say, like, especially on the left, say, oh, black people were once Egyptian kings. Like, they said that so often that there's another meme that I'm not gonna say here. If you're familiar with, like, that kind of culture, you'll understand what I'm talking about here. But the truth is, like, these grifters, what they're doing is that they're trying to basically steal the entirety of the Egyptian empire, most notably Ptolemaic Egypt, and just try to make it seem like this quote unquote black utopia, when first of all, the Egyptians were not black. They're Middle Eastern, if anything, like especially in ancient Egypt. Now, don't get me wrong, like there was a lot of ethnic mixing. I mean, like, especially since we're talking about Ptolemaic Egypt here, like the influx of the Greeks coming into the land of Egypt. Like, no doubt there's gonna be some intermingling, so to speak. And so you also have a bunch of people saying, "Oh, Cleopatra was black." No, Cleopatra was mixed Greek-Egyptian. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some black Egyptians. They were not the majority, but this is because some Egyptians were having sex with the Nubians. The Nubians are sub-Saharan African, and so naturally, the kids would have a bit of a darker skin complexion, like that. Like, those people do exist, but they weren't the majority, and they weren't the kings either. like seriously, it feels like these people, the race grifters that I keep on referencing in this video, like, they don't understand, or maybe they don't give a shit that the Nubian Empire existed and was pretty prosperous, especially in the period of antiquity. Like, that's kind of when it existed around. And it's just like, there's so many stories that they could be telling about, like, quote unquote black excellence. Like, although I prefer to say African excellence, because well, once again, sub-Saharan African, that's what the Nubians are. Primarily speaking, that's the primary ethnic demographic. Like, you're not telling stories about the Nubians, but instead you're trying to co-opt Egyptian/Greek excellency, and you're not even gonna bother to talk about African excellency. Like, get the fuck out of here. And people are gonna get mad at me for saying all this, because, well, I'm speaking the truth here. Like, it's historically speaking, that's what happened. And then another historical truth I want to discuss is, and this is another complicated historical topic that has so many facets, but I'm going to try my best to kind of summarize it. And that would be Hitler's rise to power and the circumstances that led to the German people wanting to elect someone like him. Like, there is a damn good reason, and it's mainly because of the failure of the Weimar Republic. Like, especially towards the end of its lifespan, like, it was absolutely starting to go to the way of literally what's happening in this country right now. You have a bunch of the artsy-fartsy types, like, just constantly trying to push the envelope, or the Overton window if you want to be a bit more formal, and just trying to, like, accept increasingly radical, like, leftist nonsense. Literally that. Like, although I wouldn't say it's to the point where the Weimar people were like men and women are men. It's like that kind of stuff, and using all the technical jargon of transhumanism and all that nonsense. But the German people were tired of the degeneracy. They were tired of the weakness from the government. They were tired of the economic situation being poor there, like, and then they saw this young artist type guy, who, let's be real, and this is personally an opinion of mine, Hitler's art sucked, but they saw this artist guy who was really trying to I guess, make a difference in Germany. Like, he didn't start out as this hateful dictator. He started out as like a guy who wanted to change things because he didn't like how things were. And then, he started saying a lot more bombastic things. Like, I'm not going to say any of what he said here because I would get this video taken down. But he would garner support from a lot of the sentiments that he would share with the German people. And that was that was a very short summary as to how Hitler got into power. Like, and then all the horrendous shit really started happening there because you had a bunch of people that were, it's like, hey, yeah, he was the guy who brought back Germany to her former glory. So of course we're gonna do what this guy says. Like, he's making our country making our country really good. So that would be the historical truths down. I only had a couple down here because I can get into an even longer diatribe about those two topics. But I want to get into two truths about dating and all that before I head over to the conclusion of this video. And the first of the dating truths that I have down here is that dating is now a marketplace. Like, you'll hear from a lot of red pill YouTubers say the sexual market or sexual market value. They're right about that. Like, dating is a marketplace, and that people want the highest quality goods. But the thing is, it goes both ways. It's like what people are offering to each other, and you also have people who think they're a lot more valuable than they actually are. And you could mainly blame stuff like Tinder and other dating apps as to why dating has become a marketplace, which is fine. There is strong evidence for that, actually. But simply put, it just makes people into a commodity. And it's like, if you accept that that's how dating works, it's like I think you're going to be much happier for that. And I think it also will incentivize people to self-improve. Now, don't get me wrong, looks also play a factor into it, but looks are what gets you in the door. But the thing is, it's like you can kind of increase your value a bit. Hey, you could be in good shape. You could be you could be successful. That has some I guess value, you could say, to the market. But ultimately, there's another truth that I want to get in here too, and it's another impact that Tinder in particular has, and that would be the whole 80-20 thing, or some people say it's a theory, but there's so many statistics about it from dating apps about 80% of the women only wanting 20% of the guys. And I don't know what it's really like on I guess other dating apps, but I know with Tinder, that's especially the case. All those Tinder graphs, I think Bumble and Hinge have those types of graphs too, and they largely say relatively similar things, that the guys are the ones that have the more reasonable expectations, and then the women are the ones that are having these insane fairy tale expectations. It's like, oh, he has to he has to have a 6-pack, 6-inch dong, 6 figures, all this nonsense. And it's just that's something else that makes the dating market such a brutal landscape, is that even if you're a 6 out of 10 like myself, you're gonna have a very hard time attracting 6 out of 10s, because they're all they were all sold this fairy tale about, I guess, having my Prince Charming, and he's gonna be hot and have a big dong and this and this, and it's just oh my god, that's not what you're gonna get. And yet the women on these apps think that they, because they're a 6 out of 10 and that they're pretty. Now that's subjective, if they're pretty or not, based on the person who's looking at them. But basically, it's like what the stats show is that the women ignore most of the men, thus leaving the 80% of guys to not really get a piece of anyone. Like, those apps, like what they were meant to do is kind of the opposite now. Like, people aren't getting matches, and it's actually pretty insidious. I could go into more reasons as to why, but this video is getting long enough and rambly enough as it is. So let's just jump right to the conclusion here. So, with all that being said, I hope you got a better understanding of what the truth is and what opinion is. I did try my best to really separate opinion from truth. That's why I often said in my opinion or something of the such. But for future videos, understand, when I say, this is the truth, I'm going by the definition stated in this video. And with that being said, thanks for watching, everyone.